Good evening. My name is Harold Mendelson, and this discussion has to do with a grant proposal. Now, we're not actually going to create a grant proposal, but go through the steps that we need to determine what we have to do from our end, and then locate and search to get some potential uh, companies that are issuing grants. Now, the proposal that I'm having to do is with a park that's across the street from me. I live in Moore County, North Carolina, in the village of Pinehurst, and this village is known predominantly for two things: golf and horses. The third thing is tennis, but that's a way distant third. Now, the main the main asset that has the golf courses is the Pinehurst Country Club, which has in the village of Pinehurst 9 golf courses. These are all 18 holes, plus there's also a 9-hole kind of a chip and putt that is called a cradle. There are 5 at the resort location, including number 2, which is internationally known. Every several years they have the U.S. Open there. Now, at one time, there were a number of swimming pools associated with the Pinehurst Country Club at different locations. And then they consolidated and made one pool complex right next to the clubhouse, and basically they sold off the others after they removed or buried the swimming pools. One of those swimming pools is located right across the street from me. It's basically an open lot, and the city has it, but they're not doing anything with it, barely getting the grass cut. So what I am looking into is seeing about getting some grants where the county and the city, the village, will get some type of money, and then it can either be for 1 year or over several years with multiple grants to help fund setting this up as a legitimate park. I'm not looking for anything too fancy. We won't get a swimming pool, but we could have maybe a small dog park and maybe a couple of tennis courts. There's certainly room for it. This pool complex is at least an acre in size. It's probably closer to 2 acres, maybe 3 acres. It's an open field, and it's surrounded on 3 sides by woods, and on the 4th side it's open, and then there's the road to in my subdivision. So, but the first thing we have to do is find out what it is we want to do, and then find out what it's going to cost, and then make sure that the village is okay with this. I certainly don't want to get a grant and then find out that the village doesn't want to use that. So the first thing we want to do is to have some type of a basic park for people, maybe a couple of tennis courts. They would be put to use. We are on the edge of Lake Pinehurst, and there's probably maybe 1,000 houses, maybe more than that surround the lake and in that general area. And the lake is rather large. There is a The resort has a beach there, plus there are docks for people who wish to tie their boats up so they don't have to keep putting them in and taking them out of the water. Plus the houses that are actually on the lake, some of them have docks where they can have boats tied up to the docks. The lake is large enough that you can have a number of different varieties of boats. I wouldn't recommend anything super fast, like a cigarette boat or something like that, but if you've had a bass boat or just a small, even a carriage cruiser, a small one, that would be perfect for this. So the first thing you want to know is probably want to do a survey and get responses from the people with suggestions of what it is they want to do. Do they want basketball courts, do they want tennis courts, or they just want a dog park? Just a place to maybe throw a frisbee around, whatever. But, leave it fairly open. And then whenever those responses come in, we can then place them in the order of what the people are in favor of doing. Now, there are a number of parks in Pinehurst, but in this particular part of Pinehurst, there's really nothing formal. So this should be welcomed by the people who live particularly in this area. It's generally known as the southwest part of Pinehurst. Once we have that done, then we can go out and find approximately the cost involved. And you can have several options and say option A costs this much, option B costs this much, and so forth. And once we have that, then we can go start searching for various grants that are available. I just did a rudimentary search to find out some of these things, and came across a couple of items that might possibly fit. Of course, we have to get more definite details and plans in place. The other thing is we also need to have set up a system of checks and balances to make sure that as we go along, that we are setting goals, and then those goals would be reached or not reached on a given time period. And you can have a little write-up with that saying, we reached these goals, this one we're 85% done or 90% done or whatever, and expect to get it done at this point. If we get all of them for a particular checkpoint, then we just say all of the goals for this checkpoint were met. This is what we did for the various checkpoints specifically, and then go on to the next phase. We also would have to, when we look at possible grants, is to make sure that we follow the instructions for the grants applications to the T. If they want it written in a certain font, they want it written in a certain format, and if they want us to provide certain information, we have to make sure that all of that is done. And that we would check that before we're submitting it, and then we would submit it. And usually they have a drop dead date, and I would make sure that those would get set up at that time as well. And then once that particular grant is finished, we can always apply for another grant and keep going until we complete the assignment and get everything done the way how the people would like to have it done. That's basically what I have, and I just want to thank everybody for watching, and hopefully I'll get some response to this. So thank you very much, and have a good evening.